The rivalry between Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer has reached a point where the competitive tension surrounding the Women's World Championship is beginning to feel much more personal than anyone expected. What started as a battle between two ambitious wrestlers has gradually developed into one of the most heated stories in the women's division. Morgan carries herself with the confidence of a champion who believes she belongs at the very top, while Vaquer represents years of experience, persistence, and the determination that comes from spending more than a decade fighting for recognition. Their personalities could hardly be more different, and that contrast has made every confrontation between them feel increasingly intense. Instead of simply arguing over who deserves the championship, both women have begun questioning each other's accomplishments, decisions, and place in the business. That has created a fascinating dynamic, but it has also made their exchanges uncomfortable at times. Wrestling has always relied on strong personalities and dramatic confrontations, but there is a difference between creating tension for an audience and making the rivalry feel genuinely hostile. That distinction is becoming increasingly important here. Morgan clearly believes that her success speaks for itself, while Vaquer believes her long journey deserves the same respect as any championship achievement. With both women refusing to back down, the question is no longer simply who is better inside the ring. It is whether either competitor can take a step back before their rivalry completely consumes the championship picture. Two completely different paths. One of the biggest reasons this rivalry has connected with fans is the contrast between the journeys of these two wrestlers. Liv Morgan represents a performer who reached WWE relatively young and developed her career inside one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world. Stephanie Vaquer, meanwhile, spent years working outside that spotlight, gaining experience through independent wrestling and international opportunities before finally reaching WWE. Neither path is automatically better than the other, but the difference has become the foundation of their arguments. Vaquer sees her long road as proof that she earned every opportunity she received. She has spent years wrestling in different environments, performing for smaller audiences, adapting to different styles, and continuing forward despite not having the same level of exposure enjoyed by established WWE stars. Morgan sees the situation differently. From her perspective, success is about what a wrestler does once they reach the biggest stage, and she believes her championship accomplishments demonstrate that she has already earned her place. That philosophical disagreement has made their verbal exchanges much more meaningful. Vaquer talks about sacrifice and longevity, while Morgan talks about results and achievement. Both arguments have merit, which is exactly why their rivalry works so well. The problem begins when the debate stops being about wrestling and starts becoming an attempt to diminish the person on the other side. At that point, the rivalry risks losing the competitive edge that made it compelling in the first place. WrestleMania changed everything. Their WrestleMania meeting transformed the rivalry from a heated disagreement into a major championship story. Liv Morgan walked into the match determined to prove that she belonged at the top of the division, while Stephanie Vaquer entered with the confidence of someone who believed her years of experience had prepared her for exactly this moment. The match carried enormous expectations because there was genuine history behind the confrontation. Morgan wanted to establish her reign and silence the doubts surrounding her position, while Vaquer wanted to show that her long journey had not made her any less dangerous. When Morgan emerged as the new Women's World Champion, the result immediately changed the balance of power. Vaquer had spent years building toward opportunities like this, only to watch Morgan walk away with the championship. That outcome gave Morgan even more confidence and gave Vaquer an even stronger reason to want another opportunity. Instead of ending their rivalry, the championship result essentially created another chapter. Morgan could now point to the title as evidence that she had surpassed her opponent, while Vaquer could argue that one match did not erase everything she had accomplished throughout her career. This is where their rivalry became particularly interesting. The championship was no longer simply a prize. It became a symbol of everything each woman believed about herself and the other. Morgan saw it as proof of superiority, while Vaquer saw it as unfinished business. Why fans are divided. The reaction to the rivalry has been complicated because fans are divided over how much personal intensity belongs in professional wrestling. Some viewers enjoy seeing wrestlers speak with genuine confidence and refuse to soften their personalities. They believe that a rivalry becomes more compelling when the competitors appear to genuinely dislike each other. Others feel there should still be a boundary between effective wrestling promotion and personal attacks. That debate has become a major part of the conversation surrounding Morgan and Vaquer. There is certainly value in allowing wrestlers to be bold, provocative, and unpredictable. The best rivalries often involve moments that make audiences emotionally invested. At the same time, the strongest wrestling stories usually work because the audience understands what the characters are fighting for. In this case, that foundation is already incredibly strong. A championship, two contrasting careers, and two wrestlers who believe they deserve to be recognized as the best. They do not need to completely tear down each other's personal histories to make the rivalry meaningful. In fact, the opposite may be true. The more the story focuses on their accomplishments, their philosophies, and their performances in the ring, the easier it becomes for fans to choose a side. Morgan can argue that she reached the top faster and has championship success to prove it. Vaquer can argue that longevity, experience, and perseverance make her just as deserving. That is enough conflict to carry a major wrestling storyline. Becky Lynch adds another layer. The situation becomes even more interesting with Becky Lynch entering the championship conversation. Her return immediately changes the dynamics because Morgan can no longer focus exclusively on Vaquer. Suddenly, there is another major name competing for attention and potentially challenging Morgan's position at the top of the division. Vaquer's presence only makes the situation more complicated. Instead of one challenger trying to reclaim a championship, Morgan now has multiple experienced competitors watching her every move. That creates an intriguing three-way dynamic even before a match is officially announced. Morgan has the championship and therefore has the most to lose. Vaquer has unfinished business and wants another opportunity to prove that her previous defeat does not define her career. Lynch brings her own history, credibility, and championship experience into the equation. The result is a women's division filled with genuine possibilities. More importantly, it gives the storyline a chance to move beyond personal arguments and return to what professional wrestling does best: competition. If Morgan wants to prove that she is truly the face of the division, she now has an opportunity to demonstrate it against multiple elite challengers. If Vaquer wants to prove that her long journey was worth it, another championship match would give her the perfect stage. And if Lynch wants to remind everyone why her name still belongs in the conversation, she has a powerful opportunity waiting for her. The rivalry's real test. Ultimately, the most important test for Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer will not happen on social media. It will happen inside the ring. Words can create excitement, but wrestling matches determine whether those words have substance behind them. Morgan has already established herself as a champion, but remaining champion requires repeatedly defeating people who want what she has. Vaquer has already demonstrated remarkable persistence, but now she needs to turn that experience into results. That is what makes the next chapter so important. If the rivalry returns to the fundamentals of competition, it could become one of the strongest stories in the division. Morgan can defend her championship and explain why her achievements matter. Vaquer can challenge her and demonstrate why 12 years of experience should never be dismissed. Neither woman needs to erase the other's journey. They simply need to prove that their own path has prepared them for the biggest challenge. The intensity is already there, the personalities are already there, and the stakes are already enormous. What happens next will determine whether this rivalry becomes remembered as a compelling championship battle or as an example of a storyline that pushed its personal element too far. For now, the championship remains the prize. Morgan remains the champion, Vaquer remains determined, and Becky Lynch has made the entire situation even more unpredictable. The next confrontation could finally settle the argument, or make it bigger than ever.